The art of mixing flash with daylight is a very useful thing to learn, whether you want to use your flash outside or inside using the natural light from windows. When I shoot weddings, I always take some lights with me, either the BXRI compact heads if I know that mains power is going to be available and I've got a fixed position, or for complete freedom the battery-powered Ranger Quadra system with its daylight modelling lamp. If the weather's bad and I can't shoot outside, then I just set some lights up and balance them with the window light. These days at many weddings, there's an Uncle Fred who thinks he's a photographer and who's brought along his DSLR with his on-camera flash, or even worse, a camera with a pop-up flash. Now I know he's going to be shooting over my shoulder and following me around like a puppy, and he's going to give those pictures to the bride and groom. If I'm also using an on-camera flash with my camera set to P, his pictures are going to be pretty much the same as mine. So why do my clients need to pay me to shoot their wedding? I have to be much better than that. I've seen loads of wedding shots where the light levels have been so low outside and the flash so bright inside that the windows end up black and it looks like the wedding was at night. Here we have our lovely model Becky by the window. At this venue we have a beautiful view of the garden, but it is actually raining, so we can't shoot outside. Now the bride and groom have chosen this venue for the garden, so we do need to show it. If you've watched the flash durations video, you'll understand why we have to use the flash synchronization shutter speed when we're using Studio Flash. So the first thing we need to do is to find out what the light levels are outside. Due to the low level of light outside, I'm going to use 200 ISO and a shutter speed of a 60th of a second. So on my meter I've set these values. I just take a meter reading through the window, and that tells me the aperture needs to be at 5.6. So on my camera I set the ISO to 200, the shutter speed to a 60th and the aperture to 5.6. Now if I take a shot, you can see that the outside is correctly exposed, but our subject is a silhouette. For this example I'm using just one light. If I wanted to light a larger area I would normally use two, but the technique's the same. So I've set my light up, and with the modelling lamp I can be sure that the flash is not going to be reflected into the glass. We know that 5.6 is correct for outside, so we now need to set the power of my flash to match it. By pressing the mode button on the meter, I can now set it to the flash mode. Now let's take a reading. Okay, so that says 5.6.5. So to get that to 5.6, I need to change the power down by 0.5 of a stop. As I'm using the Ranger Quadra, which has the Elinchrom Skyport receiver already built in, I can change the output from here by pressing the minus button on the transmitter 5 times. I can now take another shot, triggering my flash. And hey presto, we've balanced the lighting. This shot's okay, but I think there's something not quite right about it. Now, in a moment, I'm going to put the picture back on the screen and ask you to press the pause button to give you time to have a think about this. So find your remote and get ready to press. The reason I think it looks a little odd is that my brain's telling me that the light outside should be brighter than the light inside. At the moment it's balanced. We need to find a way to bring the exposure outside up without altering the inside exposure. Any ideas? Okay, so here's the picture again. Are you ready with that pause button? Just have a think about how we can do it. So press pause now. Well, how did you get on? If you said change the aperture, sorry, that would also change the exposure inside, as would changing the power of the light or the ISO. If you said change the shutter speed, give yourself a large pat on the back. The flash sync shutter speed is the maximum you can use with Studio Flash. If we use a slower speed, it affects the daylight but not the flash exposure. Again, watching my flash durations video will explain this. So if I reduce the shutter speed, the equivalent of 1 f-stop, which is down to a 30th of a second, only the ambient light will be 1 stop overexposed. And we're relying on the fast flash duration to freeze any movement. Comparing the two shots together, you can see this effect quite clearly. Of course, if we want to disguise the background rather than show it, we can slow the shutter speed down even more and burn it out. Or if we want a dramatic sky, we can underexpose the outside to darken the sky by using a faster shutter speed, up to the flash synchronization speed. Well, that's another skill you've learnt. Now watch part 2 where we'll move outside. And if you want to learn even more, check out my lighting courses at tfccourses.com. I'm Chris Burfoot. Thanks for watching. At this venue we have a beautiful view of the garden, but it's actually raining, so we can't shoot outside. Who's that? Oi! Off! Go on! Get out of it! Blooming Uncle Fred, get out of the way!